With that, it's time to finally add this functionality to our project. And I will do this in the controller, and I want to start with the auth controller where new users are created. We're already getting all the data. Now it's really easy to create a new user and save it to the database. It's simply done by creating a new user with the new keyword, and make sure to add the import to app user to the namespace where the user model can be found. And then, since the fillable property is set, you may pass an array with the arguments you want to initialize the user with to that user constructor here. So the array I want to pass has the name field, and of course name was retrieved from the request, the email also retrieved, and the password. However, the password won't be stored directly. I want to encrypt it. So I can use the bcrypt helper method Laravel offers to easily hash this password, because storing unencrypted passwords isn't really a great practice. So here I may pass the password retrieved from the request. Now the user is set up, and next I will create an if block to check if the saving is successful. So I will run user save here in the if statement, and this will return true if the saving was successful. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to respond with a success message. So I no longer need that user setup down here, but what I will need is I still want to pass that sign in link. So I will add a property U to my user object, and I can easily do that by accessing sign in, which is the name of the property of this route I want to provide. And since this doesn't exist yet, it will be created for me. Now I will set that equal to the sign in array created down here. With this, the user object will not only contain the fields it has by the model definition, but this new field I added here. Now that won't be written to the database, it's only there for me to output it with the response I send back to the user. With that I can get rid of this block here. I will copy the response here and create this, of course referring to this user object still, but now it's the real object as saved to the database. And then I want to return this here. Now below the if block, we'll get there if we have an error during saving this user. Therefore, what I will do here is I will create a new response saying an error occurred, and you might of course create a more elaborate error message here, and I will just send back this response with a 404 error code. So let's immediately try that out. In Postman, here with the route where a new user is created, I'm sending a body with the name, email, and password field. And as you can see, I'm getting back this user created message with the sign in route too, so this looks great. Also recognize that you're not seeing the password field here. This is because password was specified in the hidden property in the model file. Now I won't set up the sign in route yet, because this will be added in the last module when authentication comes into place. So now it's time to move on to the meeting controller. Here I'll start with the top where all meetings are fetched. And since I'm returning an array of meetings here, I will delete this dummy meeting object here and instead create this meetings object where I use the meeting model as a facade to directly get all the meetings in the database. And again, if you're not familiar with this command, definitely check out the detailed documentation about how Laravel Eloquent works. This basically is an easy access to the database, which allows me to fetch all meetings stored in the database through that meeting model here. Now I want to loop through all the meetings I got back because I want to add the link to each meeting, this link to the individual meetings. I do this by simply copying the code I had before, but now I will just do this the same way I did it when creating a new user. I use the meeting of the current iteration and add or access this view meeting property, which of course doesn't exist, therefore it will be added by Laravel. I then set this equal to this array which holds the information I want to pass, or this link I want to pass. And with that, each meeting in my array of meetings will get this link attached. Next, in the response, I no longer need to add those individual meetings, but instead meetings will simply refer to the meetings object. Now, in order to make this work, also add the import here at the top to the meeting namespace. However, one important thing to change here in the index function is, of course, I'm no longer pointing to the dummy index of 1, but instead I'm adding the meeting ID. Now with that in place, I'm going to go ahead and add all the functionalities for all the other actions, but as in the last module, I will pause and come back to the interesting parts to make sure that nothing is left out here.